as I sat by the washing machine watching the mountain of laundry grow, as if multiplying with every passing second, a strange calmness settled over me. It was one of those days where everything felt dull, ordinary, almost lifeless. The soft hum of the machine filled the air, and my thoughts wandered aimlessly. Then, as I reached for another pile of clothes, my nephew walked into the room, breaking the stillness. He had changed so much lately. The small boy I once knew was gone, replaced by someone taller, more confident, with a presence I couldn't ignore without much thought. I teased, "Why don't you help me with this? You might as well learn some of these chores." It was meant as a playful suggestion, but the way his eyes met mine caught me off guard. There was something about the intensity of his gaze that made my heart skip a beat. I wanted to dismiss it, tell myself it was nothing, but as we stood there, the tension in the air became undeniable. He shrugged, casually stepping closer. "Sure, why not?" he replied, his voice steady and calm, sending an unexpected shiver down my spine. I quickly turned away, hoping he wouldn't notice the heat rising in my cheeks. It was just laundry, so why was my heart racing? We worked side by side with him, handing me the clothes and me loading them into the machine. It was a simple, repetitive task, but every time our hands brushed, a small jolt of electricity seemed to pass between us. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but soon his touch started, lingering a little longer, his movements drawing him closer to me. I tried to focus on the laundry to distract myself from the growing awareness of his presence. But the warmth of his body next to mine was impossible to ignore, and my thoughts kept drifting to the subtle tension that hung between us. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, and the room felt warmer with each passing moment. It could have been the heat from the washing machine or our proximity, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the air was growing heavier. My mouth felt dry, and I avoided looking at him, afraid of what I might see in his eyes or what he might see in mine. Then, without warning, his hand brushed against mine again. This time, it was deliberate. I froze, looking up to meet his gaze, and the intensity in his eyes was unmistakable. My heart thundered in my chest as he stepped closer, the warmth of his body radiating toward me. I knew I should move away, put some distance between us, but I couldn't bring myself to. We stood there in silence, the unspoken feelings between us growing louder with each passing second. His hand reached out again, this time wrapping around mine with an intention that sent a chill through me. My breath hitched and I felt my resolve weaken. This was wrong, completely wrong, but I couldn't look away as he moved closer. Everything else faded, the room, the laundry, the steady hum of the machine, all of it disappeared, leaving only the two of us. His face was so close to mine that I could feel his breath warm, and inviting time seemed to stand still, and I found myself unable to think clearly. When his lips brushed against mine, it was hesitant, almost as if giving me a chance to stop him. But I did instead. I leaned into the kiss, my hands moving instinctively to pull him closer. The kiss deepened, and all the tension we'd been avoiding poured into that. A moment. It was intoxicating, the way his lips moved against mine, the way his hands explored me with such care. Please, if you've watched this video up to this point, don't forget to like the video and drop a comment below after watching. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Unadulterated Adultery Confessions for more content like this. Your support means a lot to us. Thank you for being here. Each touch sent shivers down my spine, and I knew we'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But in that moment, I didn't care. All I wanted was him. And it seemed he felt the same when we finally pulled apart. Our breaths were shallow, our foreheads pressed together. I should have felt guilty, maybe even ashamed. But all I felt was an overwhelming desire to keep going. His hands slid down, my arms, his touch, burning through the thin fabric of my clothes. My mind screamed for me to stop, to think about what we were doing, but my body refused to listen. The pull between us was too strong to resist. I felt the tension rise as he leaned in again, his lips finding mine with more urgency. This time, we stumbled backward, pressing against the washing machine, and I gasped softly as his hands roamed over me. The sound of the machine was a faint backdrop to the intensity of the moment. Right or wrong consequences, guilt, none of it mattered anymore. As the heat between us built, I surrendered completely. Every touch, every kiss, every moment felt like a release of everything we'd been holding back. It was thrilling, overwhelming, and unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I knew this couldn't last forever, that reality would catch up with us eventually. The cycle of the washing machine ended, and the quiet brought with it the weight of what we'd just done. We pulled apart, breathing heavily. Our hearts, racing the room, felt smaller. The tension still thick between us. I glanced at him. Unsure of what to say, his eyes were filled with the same intensity as before, and before I could speak, he reached for my hand. His grip was gentle but firm, and his voice was steady as he said, "We'll figure this out in..." That moment I knew we had crossed a line, but there was no going back. Whatever came next, we would face it together. The future was UNC, but the connection between us was undeniable. As we stood there side by side, I couldn't help wonder what the next chapter of our story would hold. The suspense of not knowing was terrifying, but it also filled me with a strange anticipation. Whatever happened next, I knew we would face it together. Please tell me, am I wrong for feeling this way? About my 24-year-old nephew, are my feelings inappropriate? Is the connection between us crossing a line? Your honest answers and opinions would mean so much to me as I try to make a better decision before things become even more complicated. I'll be reading your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you.